40 days after her son's heroic death, Maggie Thompson stands at his grave, heart shattered. A cruel laugh pierces the silence, his widow already moving on. Then a whispered secret, a child. Can Maggie save her son's legacy? The wind cut through Willow Creek Cemetery, sharp and cold, rustling the bare branches overhead. Margaret Thompson Maggie, to everyone in town, pulled her worn coat tighter around her shoulders. Her boots crunched on the gravel path, each step heavier than the last. Today marked 40 days since her son Ethan was laid to rest here, far from the rolling hills of their hometown in Ohio. She stopped at his grave, a simple stone with his name etched in clean, bold letters. Ethan James Thompson, 1992-2025. Beloved son and hero. Maggie knelt her knees aching against the cold earth and traced the letters with her fingertips. Her heart felt like it might crack open all over again. Why had she let them bury him here in Columbus, in this sterile city plot, instead of back home in Willow Creek, next to his father's grave? She'd been swayed by Ethan's friend Gabe, who said it made sense. Ethan's life was here, his business, his wife. Maggie clenched her jaw at the thought of Claire, Ethan's widow, who hadn't shed a single tear at his funeral. Her mind drifted to Ethan as a boy, all of 10, fixing old man Carter's pickup truck with a wrench too big for his hands. "Mama, if you do good, it comes back to you," he'd say, parroting her and Tom's words. They'd raised him to help others, to give, without expecting anything in return. And he had. Ethan had died a hero, rushing into his burning auto shop to save 3 trapped workers. He got them out, every last one, but the toxic fumes had claimed him in the hospital days later. A hero, they called him. But it didn't ease the ache in Maggie's chest, the kind that made every breath feel like a betrayal. She cleared the wilted flowers from his grave, replacing them with fresh roses from her garden. Her hands trembled as she wiped the dust from his photograph, his warm brown eyes staring back. "Oh, Ethan," she whispered, "why'd you have to leave me?" A sharp laugh broke the silence jarring in the quiet cemetery. Maggie flinched and turned. There stood Claire Bennett, Ethan's widow, in a sleek black coat that probably cost more than Maggie's monthly pension. Her blonde hair was pulled back, her face as cold as the November air. Beside her was a man in a tailored suit. His arm looped casually through hers, whispering something that made her smirk. Maggie stood, brushing dirt from her hands. "Claire," she said, her voice steady, despite the tremor in her chest. "You're here. Today's the 40th day since Ethan." "So what?" Claire cut her off, her tone clipped. "I'm just passing through, Margaret. Got other things to do." Maggie's breath caught. "Other things? Your husband's been gone 40 days, and you're—" She stopped, noticing the man's faint smile mirrored by Claire's. They were laughing right here by Ethan's grave. The man leaned in, his voice low but clear. "Darling, let's go. I just need to put flowers on Grandma's grave. It's her anniversary today." "Sure," Nathan Claire replied, her eyes never leaving Maggie's. They strolled past Ethan's grave without a glance, as if it were just another stone in the ground. Maggie stood, frozen disgust rising in her throat. Claire had moved on already, 40 days after Ethan's death. She overheard Nathan's voice drift back. "Is that his mother?" "Yeah," Claire said, her tone dripping with disdain. "A small town, nobody just like her son. And the child, I've dealt with that. No use for a kid from a loser like him." Maggie's heart stuttered. "Child? What child?" She hurried after them, her voice shaking. "Claire, wait. Are you pregnant? Is it Ethan's, my grandson? His legacy?" Claire spun around, wrenching her arm free from Maggie's grasp. "What child? You're out of your mind, Margaret." "Delusional." "But you just said," Maggie began, bewildered. "Mind your own business," Claire snapped, her eyes flashing. For a moment, something like guilt flickered across her face, then vanished. "You think I'd carry a kid from your worthless son?" "His business tanked, Margaret. Bankrupt. He was in debt up to his eyeballs. Let it go." She grabbed Nathan's hand and strode away, her heels clicking on the path. Maggie sank to her knees by Ethan's grave, her mind reeling. "Is it true, son?" she whispered. "Your business." A child. She stared at the clear blue sky, searching for answers that wouldn't come. The world felt cruel, deceptive, nothing like the peaceful Ohio skies of her youth. Hours passed, or maybe minutes, Maggie couldn't tell. Her phone buzzed in her pocket, pulling her back to reality. It was Gabe Russo, Ethan's best friend from the shop. "Mrs. Thompson. You at the cemetery." His voice crackled through. "Yes, Gabe," she said softly. "I'm here. Stay put. I just got off work. Let's grab a coffee and talk about Ethan." Maggie agreed, and an hour later, they sat in a booth at Millie's Diner in Willow Creek, the kind of place where the coffee's strong and the waitresses know your name. The clink of dishes and hum of small-town chatter filled the air, but Maggie's plate of pie sat untouched. She told Gabe about Claire, her cruel words, the mention of a child. How could she talk about Ethan like that? She said, her voice tight with anger. "And what's this about a child?" Gabe sighed, running a hand through his dark hair. "I didn't want to pile more on you, Mrs. Thompson. Ethan had a rough few months. Suppliers sent bad parts. Then a car he fixed broke down, big lawsuit. He was drowning in debt. Claire's dad, the big-shot banker, could have helped, but he didn't. Probably because Claire was stepping out on Ethan. For 3 months, she was seeing some rich guy, Nathan Wells, son of her dad's buddy." Maggie's hands clenched around her coffee mug. "My poor boy." "Why didn't he tell me he didn't want to worry you?" Gabe said. "But there's more. About the child." Maggie leaned forward, her heart pounding. "Tell me." Gabe hesitated, then spoke. "Ethan wanted a kid, but Claire wouldn't hear of it. Said it'd ruin her figure. So they compromised, hired a surrogate. A young woman named Isabella Martinez. Ethan paid for everything, got her an apartment. Things were fine until the shop's troubles hit, and Claire, well, she turned ugly. Wanted the pregnancy stopped, or the kid sent to an orphanage." Maggie gasped. "That's monstrous. Where's this Isabella now? Is she still?" "I don't know," Gabe admitted. "She was a foster kid, no family to speak of. Last I heard, she was still pregnant, but Claire might have pressured her to end it. I didn't tell you sooner because I thought it was their business, not mine. I'm sorry." Maggie's eyes burned with tears. "Gabe, you owe Ethan. Help me find her. If there's a chance my grandchild's out there, I need to know." Gabe nodded, his jaw tight. "I'll find her, I promise." The next day, Gabe worked his old contacts, a retired cop from Columbus, a private investigator he knew from the shop. By evening, he had an address. Isabella Martinez was living in a run-down suburb on the edge of Columbus, hiding from Claire's reach. Maggie drove there the next morning, her old pickup rattling along the highway. The neighborhood was a mix of faded bungalows and overgrown lawns, nothing like the tidy streets of Willow Creek. She pulled up to a small house, its paint peeling, but the yard neat. A little girl, maybe 5, sat by a flower bed, drawing in the dirt with a stick. Her dark curls bounced as she looked up. "Hi," she said, her voice bright. "You looking for someone?" Maggie's throat tightened. "I think... your mom." The girl nodded and ran inside, calling Mama. Moments later, a young woman stepped onto the porch, tall and slender, with no sign of pregnancy. Maggie's heart sank. Had she lost the baby? "Are you Isabella?" Maggie asked, her voice trembling. "Yes," the woman said cautiously, setting down a heavy grocery bag. "Who are you?" "I'm Maggie Thompson, Ethan's mom. I need to talk to you about the baby." Isabella's face hardened. "I already told them I won't get rid of this child. It's too late anyway." She paused, her lips quivering. "Why are you here?" Maggie stepped closer, her voice soft. "I'm not here to hurt you, Isabella. I'm glad you didn't listen to Claire. I want to help. If you don't want to raise this baby, I'll take him. He's my grandson, Ethan's legacy." Isabella's eyes filled with tears. "He's mine," she whispered, her voice breaking. "I won't give him up." Maggie reached out, pulling her into a gentle hug. "Oh, honey, we're not crying out here in the cold. Let's go inside." Isabella hesitated, glancing at the house. "My friend Tina? She's not exactly welcoming." Maggie noticed another woman peering out from the house, her expression sour. "Then let's talk somewhere else," Maggie said. They crossed the street to a bench, the little girl Sophia. Isabella said, tagging along. Tina grabbed the grocery bag and disappeared inside with a scowl. Maggie sat beside Isabella, who looked worn out, her hands resting on her barely visible baby bump. "Why are you carrying heavy stuff like that?" Maggie asked. "You're due soon." "No choice," Isabella said quietly. "Tina and I grew up in foster care together. She let me and Sophia stay, but I've got to pull my weight." Maggie listened as Isabella shared her story. After foster care, she trained as a cook, worked in a bakery, fell in love with a guy who left when she got pregnant with Sophia. She lived in a moldy dorm, barely scraping by until she saw an ad for surrogacy. "I thought it was my shot to get out," she said. "Ethan was kind. He rented us an apartment, made sure Sophia had what she needed. But Claire—" Her voice trailed off. "What happened?" Maggie pressed gently. "Ethan said he and Claire were splitting up. He promised I wouldn't lose this baby, even hinted we might, I don't know, be something more. Then he died, and Claire told the clinic to end the pregnancy, or put the kid in an orphanage. I ran. Tina took us in, but it's not much better. She works me like a mule." Maggie's heart broke for her. Sophia looked up, her eyes wide and frightened. "Girls," Maggie said suddenly, "why don't you come with me? I've got a house in Willow Creek, a garden room for kids to run. You'll be safe there." Isabella blinked, stunned. "You don't even know me, or Sophia." Maggie smiled, her eyes warm. "You're the mother of my grandchild. That makes you family. Sophia, too." Isabella's lip trembled, but she nodded. That afternoon, they packed what little they had and drove to Willow Creek. Maggie's house was modest, but cozy, with a wraparound porch and a garden full of roses. The air smelled of earth and possibility, a far cry from Columbus's concrete sprawl. Weeks later, Isabella gave birth to a healthy boy, Leo, in the regional hospital. Maggie was there, holding her hand through every contraction. When she saw Leo's tiny face, his eyes so like Ethan's, a flicker of peace warmed her heart. She helped Isabella settle in, turning the guest room into a nursery. Sophia ran through the garden chasing fireflies, calling Maggie Grandma with a giggle that melted her grief. One evening, Maggie stood by Leo's crib, watching his chest rise and fall. She'd learned from a lawyer friend that Claire had canceled the surrogacy contract, leaving no legal claim on Leo. Isabella was free, and so was the baby. Maggie whispered to the air, "You were right, Ethan. Do good, and it comes back. Not how we planned, but it does." She stepped outside where Isabella and Sophia were planting marigolds in the garden. Sophia's laughter rang out clear and bright like a promise. Maggie closed her eyes, letting the sound wash over her. Ethan was gone, but his legacy, his heart lived on in this new family, in this quiet corner of Willow Creek. And for the first time in 40 days, Maggie felt whole.